welcome to Let's Talk AppSec. My name is Mark Lambert, VP of Products here at ArmorCode. I'm joined by the amazing Luis Guzmán. How are we doing, Luis?
What's up, Mark? I'm glad to be here.
So as we said before, we chit chat all the time. You know, I come from a software development background. Luis comes from a security, team cyber infrastructure background. And we're talking about the evolution that organizations have gone through. And one of the key things is figuring out how we can really get a better cross-team collaboration. In fact, actually, one thing we recently did is with the Purple Book community, there was a recent report, State of Application Security Operations for 2022. And in that, one of the questions was around friction between the development teams. And the interesting thing was it was a top 3 priority for both a challenge and a focus, but leaders in that group didn't list it because leaders had figured it out. So, let's talk about that challenge, Luis. What do you see coming from an infrastructure perspective or a traditional cybersecurity perspective?
Well, we kind of pointed a little bit of this out previously in the last podcast when we talked about the blurring of the lines of assets, right? What it is that is actually an asset. Back in the day when it was all hardware, it was easy, right? It was a box, had a connection, that was good to go. That was an asset. Now we're meshing that term, and it could be the app, the product. It could be the OS that would be considered an asset by itself. It could be the actual environment, like the container. And then it could also be the MAC address for the actual physical device that's on there. So now you have what could have been an asset 1, now we've got it in 4. So now we have to figure out who has that responsibility, because it's no longer just going to be me that fixes it like it used to be. Now it potentially could be 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams, if you even have that amount of people to help you.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a different survey. I think it was the GitLab survey, which was talking about who's responsible for infrastructure. And when it comes to infrastructure as code, the traditional cybersec is, it's the development team. They manage it, they stand it up. And then the development team is saying it's the infrastructure guys. So it's like there's this gaping hole in between. And when we think about what motivates our, let's just separate AppSec and infrastructure sec for a second. If we think what motivates the teams, our security team are focused on mitigating business risk and managing business risk. And our development team are focused on delivering as much functionality to market as quickly as possible. These sort of things don't necessarily mesh all the time, and it creates this friction. And what I often see is I see organizations who are trying to evolve and struggling is that they have, I use the phrase less more carrot, less stick, right? And what you want is you really want to convert your security team to be coaches and mentors, and leverage like a security champion or a security liaison program to really get yourself representation in the room when it comes to the development team, because developers don't want to deliver bad code. It's my background. I never wanted to do a bad thing. But usually the motivations are different. I really wanted to get the functionality out as quickly as possible. It's not necessarily a critical business objective, and I would argue and debate as to whether this was an important thing or not. So, that collaboration for me is you got to nail that down. And I've seen the security champion or security liaison, if you can't get enough champions going, that program being pretty successful. Is that how do you view that?
Yeah, well, the whole incentivizing, right? What do you incentivize me with? That whole carrot and stick scenario, right? If you're going to constantly be naming and shaming people for bad code that they put out, then I don't want to collaborate with you. But on the other hand, if you're saying, hey, come on over, dev team, we've got a review today. Today's Tuesday review day. And these are the things we found. These are the next steps that we believe that would help you out. And having all of that capability of being able to do that in one platform, or being able to have collaboration in a platform that's historically not seen. And so now the fact that ArmorCode's doing this, that we're able to talk about this in real life, real time, with a real workflow, it's huge. It's a game changer.
Yeah, and that workflow is key. So for me, it's like, hey, when you're going to be collaborating with the development team, you have to integrate with the existing systems that they use. That means Jira, Slack. Nobody reads email anymore. We're all getting too many, right? And we're almost getting a little bit of noise filtering on Slack as well at the moment too. But so you need to make sure you plug into the existing infrastructure, but you also need to have a collaboration workflow that it removes the us and them, right? So like hey, I'm a developer, you sent me a vulnerability, but that's not really in my world, it's a false positive, or it doesn't have the right context. We need to accept the risk, or the severity is different. Or guess what? I can't get it done this week because we're right up on release and my manager is pounding me right now for getting the functionality done. Can we have an exception, an extension to last it a day? Give me next week. These things are critical for the collaboration workflow, right?
That's huge. So, you know, in the next podcast, I guess we can pick it up.
I can't believe it, how quickly we go through 5 minutes. So you know what? You know, thanks for your 5 minutes now. Stay tuned. We're going to pick up this conversation and we're going to go into the next topic very soon.